digging the thing. Came for the ring, you know what I mean. I shoot my shot and it's clean. This from my city, yeah, this from my team. If you talking, it's all to me nice. I play with all of my life. You see my name in the lights. Better get right, I'm champion. I'm a team. If you talking, it's all to me nice. I play with all of my life. You see my name in the lights. Better get right, I'm champion.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is the YSN Live Show podcast, whatever you want to call it. I'm DJ. That's Anthony. Right off the jump, man. We went live for about a minute, and Steve Hemberger just puts your daily reminder that Coach Armini is your daddy in flag football. We didn't even last a minute before I get my daily reminder about Coach Armini being my arch nemesis in flag football. He is not my daddy. Oh no. Long way from it. Yeah, we got spanked last time we played Coach Armini. I will tell you that. But I'm just going to tell you, team was stacked. All right. If we're going to have a real draft and put real boys against each other and play some flag football, Coach Armini, get ready, buddy. Get ready. Because the pecking order is yet to be determined. YTD, as they say.
Man, he didn't even let the intro go. Like it was on before we were.
It was in. I waited all day, buddy. He was waiting. Steve Hemberger's waiting by the keyboard, ready to go. We have a unbelievable show for you today. Unbelievable. We're so excited for today's show. Rob Johnson of the Louisville Leopards broadcast right here on YSN will join us about 10 to 1. He's going to talk about what is at stake this weekend, Anthony. Sunday, 6 p.m., Louisville Leopards, Final Four. You're going to hear Rob Johnson on the broadcast right here on YSN. We'll have him talking about all of things Louisville as the world is excited for the Leopards. Everybody's got spots this time of year, healthy spots because they're the Leopards, not because they got some disease. Hopefully. So we got Rob going. And at 12:30, we have the state champion, once renowned state champion, Mr. Jim Hannock, Coach Jim Hannock of the South Range Raiders baseball team will join us. Anthony did some quick research. One of the most successful programs in the last decade, the South Range Raiders.
Ooh.
Incredible.
That's journalism, my friend. That's journalism.
I'm digging deep for that journalism. I graduated with that degree, and I'm going to put it to good use here today. And somebody else, yeah, somebody else who got a journalism degree puts it to great use every single day is the person that's going to join us right now. Let's roll out that red, white, and blue carpet for one of the area's greatest reporters, I think, of all time, and certainly at the time being one of Wellsville's greatest exports, and you can see her every day pretty much on Channel 21 WFMJ, our proud sponsor and partner right here of YSN. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and a pleasure to bring in Brittany Bissell.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be on. And DJ, I have to tell you, when I first logged on, I heard you singing Seinfeld, and I love that you're a fan of that show because so am I. That's like my favorite show of all time. It's like my comfort show. I don't know if you remember the episode where like Elaine's dance moves, where she was like, oh my God, it's my favorite. Yeah.
I love it. I'm glad that somebody got that because Anthony was.
Yeah, I was out. I was like, whoop.
Oh, come on, Anthony, you got to get up on your side.
Sorry, I was over there watching Friends when Seinfeld was on.
Britt, I mean, you've been in this area your whole life. I mean, you grew up playing sports, volleyball, basketball, cheerleading as well.
Yeah.
To keep going in sports, what was your ultimate goal? Was it to be a sports reporter, or what was it when you left high school, had ambition to stay in sports? Why was it, and have you reached it?
So I will tell you, when I was little, like I grew up loving basketball. I loved the game of basketball. But when I was little, like I had this big ambitious goal that like I was going to play in the WNBA someday. once I got a little bit older and realized that like I'm way too slow for that and like I'm not good enough, then it kind of became like I knew that I wanted to work in sports. So I kind of had to figure out like what that was going to look like for me. Like I knew that I was never going to be like a nurse or a teacher or any of like the traditional things that you see people go on to be. So for me, like I started seeing like people like Erin Andrews and Michelle Tafoya on the sidelines. And so I became like really interested in how they got to where they are. So I started doing my research, and like from that point on, I was like, okay, like I want to go on to become a sports reporter. That was pretty early on. I would say probably in like the junior high age that I kind of figured that out. So, but you know, like it was kind of difficult too, because being from like the little small old town of Wellsville, like people are like, oh, you have to have connections for that. Like, I'm not sure that that would ever work out for you. And then in college, I ended up interning here at WFMJ. And as soon as I graduated, it was probably like 2 months later, a position came open here when I worked here the first time, because I'm actually back for a second stint. And like Dana called me. So I actually just ended up being in the right place at the right time, and like it all worked out. So I'm super excited to be where I am.
With all that being said, I think it's easy to say that sports had a major impact in your life, even at an early age. What was it about sports, do you think, that really kind of impacted your life? If you had to kind of put into words the impact that sports has made, what would you kind of put in, how would you put that into words?
Well, it's been a really big part of my life, because ever since I was born, so my family is like diehard Dallas Cowboys fans. So like one of the first things I learned like at a young age is like, we love football, we watch football. So like I related to like family, like it brings my family together. And then also I grew up with an older brother. He's 7 years older than me. So like he played like every sport imaginable. So I grew up going to his games and like kind of following him in his footsteps. And it just was like such a big thing for me growing up, just to be involved in sports. I played basketball, and like, you know, that camaraderie with, you know, you make so many friends playing sports, and I just loved it.
All right. So what have been your favorite assignments so far in your career?
I would say my favorite assignments, so probably like opening days. So I did Guardians opening day, and I want to say like 2017. That was really cool. But I think my favorite, like I really love just covering high school sports. I think it's super fun. 2022, I followed Canfield basically all the way to the state championship. That was super cool to see Coach Pav get his first state championship. Brock Lowry was honestly just one of the coolest and best players that, you know, I've had the privilege of covering. But I also, like, back in 2016, I worked for 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. So I had the privilege of covering like the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Pirates, the Penguins when they were on their Stanley Cup run. So I had the opportunity to do some really cool things whenever I was covering them. I mean, to interview like Coach Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger, and like being there, you know, watching Sidney Crosby's greatness in those Stanley Cup runs. That was something that's definitely really cool, and I'll never forget those moments.
Notice, Anthony, she said privilege to cover those teams, so I don't want to hear your comeuppance. Okay, let's calm down with the Pittsburgh talk down. Okay, you got two Pittsburghers here now.
Anthony, you're Kansas City, right?
She's a Dallas fan. I don't know if she's a Pittsburgher.
Yeah. Well, you
Dang
know,
it, Britt!
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Blame my parents, born and raised. I don't know why. Like, my dad's from the Pittsburgh area, but he grew up hating the Steelers, loving the Cowboys. So, like, one of the first things that was instilled is, like, we're Cowboys fans around here. So,
in the words of every Pittsburgher right now, your dad is at. He's at.
In that same line, though, Britt, you know, you've had the chance to go to a lot of high schools, cover a lot of high school teams. Is there one that when you get that assignment, you know you're going there that night, that really gets you excited? Like, I'm going to this gym, or I'm going to see this team or this program?
Yeah, I think it varies from sport to sport. I would say, like, you know, I always love covering Canfield. South Range, I think, has like amazing athletics across the board. If you send me to a Warren JFK basketball game, I'm thrilled. Like, I think every year they have great teams. This year I love covering them, and Nick Ryan obviously really stands out, but Canfield basketball was really fun to cover this year. So, like, you go back in the day, the first time I worked here, I mean, being at Warren Harding games and covering Lynn Bowden, I mean, I think he's one of the best athletes to ever come out of the area. definitely really enjoyed covering that program as well. So yeah, there's quite a few, but I would say Canfield it definitely stands out for me. I'm always excited to go over to Canfield football games, to Canfield basketball games.
All right, so we all know that football rules the roost around here. It is a 24/7 job in the news and sports industry that time of year. But for you, this had to be really cool to see the revolution of girls sports come up through and the attention that it's getting. What has that been like for you? Because you've kind of been at the fringe the entire time. I mean, back in the day, I don't want to say that we're old, but there was no attention paid really to girls sports, and now it's on every night on YSN. It's on every night for the highlights. What has that been like for you as a female in the industry to be able to help lead that revolution?
Yeah, well, it's really cool to, as you guys know, I think that I'm the first full-time sports reporter to ever be hired at WFMJ. So that in itself is really cool. And I hope that it, just leads the way for plenty of people to come after me. But I mean, in terms of high school sports and girls high school sports and the coverage it gets now, going back to when I was in high school, I mean, I don't know if my team was ever on the highlights. I mean, especially being from a small school. So to see what you guys do now, even to be able to give girls sports a bigger platform where you're covering girls sports all the time. And then, I mean, you look at it now and what we see with Caitlin Clark and the way that, women's college basketball and the WNBA is really in the limelight now. I mean, it's cool because I grew up watching the WNBA and women's basketball, going back to Pat Summitt's Tennessee Lady Vols and, the UConn days with Diana Taurasi. But I mean, it just was not as big as what it is now. And, it's been super cool to be able to see that and how it's been able to grow and expand. And, I think we have in this area a lot of really good girls athletes. You think about Dee Dee Ryan and Gianna Pompilia and our softball teams. I mean, you think about Fitch and Canfield South Range. I mean, it's just been really cool to see these girls who go out and they're great athletes too, and finally be able to see them get the recognition that they deserve.
You talked about setting the bar for the women that come after you in the sports reporting field. What kind of things do you say to girls that are trying to grow up and look up to women in your shoes and want to be where you are? What kind of things do you say to them?
Well, I mean, I think one of the biggest things is, don't let anybody talk you out of it. It's a little bit more challenging. It is going to be a little bit more challenging for you, but if you have it in your heart and you want to do it, absolutely go after it. I think find good people to be your mentors. Dana has been such a great mentor for me. He's been super welcoming and helpful. And when I first came in, Mike Ackelson was such a big help for me. And there's plenty of people, I can't name all of them. So, I mean, I think finding those mentors that you trust that are willing to help you. But if you have that drive and you want to do it, just stay with it. I mean, even when it's tough, when I first came in, my first year, I mean, it was such a struggle for me. I was so nervous all the time. It took me a while to really settle in. So, I mean, just stay with it. And sometimes you have to kind of go through those difficult things to help you grow and get better, but you'll get there. And, just go for it, girlfriend. Whoever it is out there, go for it.
I love it. I love it. Nobody better than you, the trailblazer. I didn't know that you're the first full-time sports reporter. Hey, way to go, Britt. We're proud of you.
I didn't realize that either, but I mean, it's super cool. Yeah. So, I mean, I think when I first came on, it was kind of a shock for some people, they just weren't used to seeing it. It was Dana and Mike and, they usually had someone else with them who wasn't a girl. So I think it took, but I think people have really warmed up to me and everyone's been super welcoming. So that's cool. So people get used to you.
I think the world is a happier place because you're on TV, Britt. Let's just be honest, all right? Mike Ackelson is a pretty human being, but I don't think he compares to you, okay?
I love Ack.
We do too. He's one of us. We're grateful. And Dana, you're a handsome son of a gun too. Handsome sack of subs. Way to go, buddy. Let's go to one of the main reasons you're with us today. You have graciously accepted the opportunity to be a judge in the slam dunk competition at the All-Star game next Saturday.
Uh-huh.
A lot to live up to. Madison Tromler, Andrew DePaulo last year representing 21. This year it's you. Are you nervous? I know Madison got a little nervous. She threw up a low score on.
I remember that. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I don't want to get booed by anybody, so I have to be a gracious judge. But also, like, I grew up watching NBA All-Star Weekend religiously. My favorite part was the dunk contest. I will say, like, it's not what it used to be, but I love the dunk contest. So, like, I'm super excited to be a part of it. I want to see a little creativity.
Okay, so the dunkers better be listening. They better be watching right now. What do you want to see? What makes a good dunk for you?
You know, I think it's something where it's like, okay, they really thought that out. Like, you know, that they came well prepared. It wasn't something that just like happened on the fly. Like they came well prepared and you're like, okay. So like they really practiced that. They came with something good. They like went outside of the box a little bit. So that's what I like to see. Those are always my favorite dunks, when you see that creativity, that thoughtfulness, that effort there.
You know, you already said that you don't want to be booed by anybody, and I don't think anyone would ever boo Brittany Bissell, by the way. If they did, they might be escorted from the gym right away.
Especially if they're wearing blue coat.
But what kind of judge do you think you're going to be? Are you going to be stiff and have your parameters that you're looking for, and if it's not there, you're not going to give the score, or are you going to give a little wiggle room?
I guess I'll be a little bit tough. Like I can't be too lenient because I've seen a lot of dunks in my day. So it's like, you know, I think I know what's a good dunk and what's not. So I got to be a little bit tough. But again, I don't want to be booed. But yeah, like I said, I'm looking for creativity. I'm excited to be a part of it. I think it's going to be super fun. And I remember last year's the Nick Ryan show that he put on. So I'm excited to see what these guys come with and what happens.
We're still waiting on the champ to accept his invitation. Come on, Nick. Come on.
Come on, we need you.
I defend.
What's
I got my 10s ready for Nick Ryan.
I love it. We're trying to get. Do you remember last year when Gavin Gregory came out of the crowd because someone dropped out at the last minute and he was all in his street clothes and dunked it, just put it down? One of the greatest moments.
That's so cool. Yeah.
When you took the job, what has been your biggest, like, I really love this about the job, and what has been one of the bigger challenges about your job, Monday to Sunday?
I think that like the thing that I love most is Friday night football. Like my days are so packed. It's like such an adrenaline rush. Like I come in, I go out, like I'm my own cameraman. I shoot my own live shots. So I usually go out to a game, like give a pregame report. I'll talk to coaches like earlier in the week to kind of, get an idea for their thoughts on the game. And then I do that. I usually shoot 3 games and then it's like a rush to get back here, edit those. And then we have this big show that we go on air and do. But I think for me, like there's nothing better in this area than Friday night football. I love that. But there's just so many different things. You get sent out to cover a state championship. Like I did the softball state championships this past year. There's nothing better than that as well. I think the most challenging part is just like, the learning process when you first come into it. Like there's so many things that happen behind the scenes when you're anchoring. Like it's like getting the timing right, like getting used to having a producer yelling in your ear, like things that people at home don't see. Mm-hmm. So there's just a lot of that I think takes getting used to. Like thankfully I've been doing this for quite a few years now, so I'm kind of used to all of it now. The other thing I would just say is like the schedule. Like it feels like I leave here later every night. So like sometimes I'm leaving here, it's like 1 a.m. My bedtime's like 2:30 a.m. So people are like, you're insane. But it doesn't bother me too much though, just because I love my job and I love what I get to do every day. So it's not too bad.
Bro, we had classes together at YSU in that TCOM studio, and we know how rigorous that live studio can be inside YSU. How much did that TCOM prepare you for your job at WFMJ?
Yeah, I will say one of the cool things about going to school at YSU was being in that studio. But I think like the biggest thing for me was like I would stay after and work in the labs and like learn how to use the cameras and the editing systems and things like that. Like those are the real things that you have to learn to like do this job every day. Cause like I mentioned, you know, it's not Dana has a photographer, but like for us new people that come in, like we have to do it all ourselves. So the more that you learn those things, like running your own camera, editing and stuff like that, that I was started learning at YSU, like you're way better off because that's just like a part of the everyday routine and things that we do here.
Britt, we can't thank you enough. You know how much we appreciate you every day, not just on days that you pop on here on YSN Live, but the inspiration that you are to girls everywhere, not only the ones that want to get into business, but ones that just want to be in sports. You are awesome. You are the best to do it. We can't appreciate you enough. Britt, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm big fans of yours too. Can't wait for Saturday to be a part of the dunk contest. And nobody boo me, okay?
No.
Hey, ejected. If you boo Britt Bissell, you're out.
I will wheel them out myself. All right.
Yeah. They're real intimidated by that, Ant. They're real intimidated. We got some big fellas coming in. Britt, thank you so much. Have fun tonight. Thanks for coming in early, by the way. We appreciate you. There she goes. Britt Bissell. Wow. She is incredible. And I mean, like, she is the most professional human being I think I've ever met. Mm-hmm. On the air, off the air. She's the same person. The best to do it. I'm telling you right now, I think that she is the GOAT in the Valley, and to trailblaze that position for women. I mean, that's incredible. I had no idea. I guess I just don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. I don't see in that way. It's just, okay, I'm looking for the delivery of the sports. And again, nobody better than Brittany Bissell.
Yeah, I remember when I first met her at YSU, and I was coming into the TCOM department at YSU, and she was much further down the line than I was. And I was like, man, this is a professional at Youngstown. We are way too good. She is way too good for our area, and she stayed in the area. WFMJ, that's a gem. That's a gem, diamond in the rough right there. She's meant for. She could be at any market anywhere probably and find success, but we're lucky to have her in the Youngstown Valley. And
we're even more lucky to have her coming next Saturday to be a judge, because like you and I were like, man, this would be really awesome. But like she has a huge busy schedule. I mean, all through the week, you never know when you're going to see her on air. You never know what things she's going to produce for the sportscast. So, we were kind of just, doing this the entire time and, crossing our fingers and praying, hey, maybe. Because we are such fans of what they do at 21 WFMJ, obviously because they're our partners, but there's a reason for that. It's a good fit always. It was a great fit at the time, and it's been even greater ever since. And then to be able to lock arms with them and have Britt be part of what we're going to do here on Saturday, raise some money for the Rich Center for Autism. And, to find out it's something she actually wanted to do is kind of humbling, right? We say it all the time, we're just a couple of stooges that like what we do. They're the professionals. They're the ones in the suit and ties and nice clothes. And we're sitting here in t-shirts and backwards baseball caps, just talking about it. And there's still like a pinch me feeling sometimes when we work with them, right?
And we do not have producers yelling in our ears.
No, we got idiots with mics that work like half the time. Like that's when you see my mouse is what that's what happens. My mouse starts going crazy as soon as I put it back down. But the zooms and pans and all that stuff, like we're doing that on the fly, and that's what she alluded to. Like they used to call it VJing, video journalist. That's what Britt has to do. So. Yeah, herself. Like she typically doesn't have a cameraman or camera operator. She's going out there by herself and doing it, which I did. I was the first iteration of that back when I graduated in 07, 08. And it's not easy. It's not easy. And
one of the downsides
do it every day.
One of the downsides of being on TV is people only see the finished product and they don't see everything that goes into it before you go on air. And they probably think, all they have to do is stand there and talk for a half an hour on a TV broadcast. But it's like all the stuff that goes in before the broadcast actually hits on air. Like there are probably a lot of reporters that say that's the easy part. That's where I feel comfortable in front of a camera. But the hard part is doing everything to prepare for that said broadcast on the 11 o'clock news.
I'll never forget when I went into college. There were people like multiple that thought that all you had to do instead of an 8-hour shift was you just show up and you're on air for 2.5 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it is. No. And I'll tell you that the most challenging part for me always was, believe it or not, the highlights. Because if you're behind on highlights or you're ahead on highlights, man, it is hard to catch up or fall back because you have a pace going. So when she's talking about all the things that you have to prepare for, and the things that the producer yelling in your ear, that's tough because you're trying to read either a script or a prompter, and there's somebody saying 30 rap. like you're like, okay, and you can't acknowledge that because then you look like a real jackass, on air, and you look like, and nobody knows why. I guess you look like the way you would. So, she's the best. She's the best. We're happy to have her, and certainly, I swear to God, if anybody boos her, there will be a fight. Like I will throw down. Not that I'm much more intimidating than Anthony, but I have large friends that will throw you out. So, thank you to Britt for stopping by. Certainly she said she went to the studio at 21 and then she's leaving again because she doesn't have to be there till 4. God love her. I wouldn't have done that. I'd been like, kick rocks, guys. Sorry about it.
Kick rocks.
I mean, let's be honest. It is what it is. But no, she is the ultimate professional. We're grateful, and she's from Wellsville, which makes it that much cooler for me because I'm from Palestine. Like we Columbiana kids don't get too much shine, right? Everybody thinks that we're pushing or riding a tractor, or like we don't do anything in Columbiana County, and she's doing big things for the county. The queen of Columbiana County. Brittany Bissell. So in a couple minutes here, we will have the head coach of the South Range Raiders, Mr. and Coach Jim Hannock, joining us. Anthony, we talked about baseball, softball season, track season right around the corner. Mm-hmm. It got here quick. It doesn't feel like it for us because we're in it every day, but it really did. When you think about it, it's Pi Day, March 14th. So, I mean, it's crazy. We're in March already. It feels like we just started football.
Yeah, and it's because basketball, and once again, it goes right up against baseball, softball. It's almost no time to breathe because we still have a basketball team alive. So we're sitting here like we're trying to make sure Louisville gets their due, and we love them. And we're gonna have Rob Johnson on the show. So we're kind of just like juggling basketball still, while baseball and softball is, like you said, just right around the corner. It starts in 8 days. On the 22nd of March is the first day of it, which is a spring sports season for baseball and softball. So it definitely sneaks up on you if you're not ready for it.
Baseball starts a week after, if I'm not mistaken, right? It starts on the 30 or the
I think teams 29th. Can play that day because I know there's baseball on the 24th. So
okay,
I think
I stand corrected.
Everything else is staggered like that, the basketballs. But I mean, Jim Hannock can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think baseballs and softball are both good to start on that week.
Okay. Well, without further ado, perfect segue into our next guest, one of our favorite guests ever, a guy that very, very early on in the YSN history took us kind of under his wing and said, hey, follow us. Well, we followed him all the way to a state championship. That's how good they are. That's how good he is. Ladies and gentlemen, this time, one of the best to do it and the leader of one of the most successful programs in the last decade in baseball in this area. Ladies and gentlemen, from South Range, Jim Hannock. Hi, Coach.
How you guys doing?
We're wonderful. All right, so right off the rip, when are you guys allowed to start playing games? There's a little bit 28th.
Of a Friday the 28th.
Okay.
So it is a week after. Good.
Okay, so I guess from your standpoint, you guys have had some of the most success over the last decade here in hardball. What do you attribute that to? I know it's hard to pinpoint one or two things, but what you've been able to do with your program, what you guys have done in the off season, I think has made all the difference of what you've done in season. What do you attribute your success to?
It's the hard work of the kids. it's first and foremost, their willingness to get better, to improve. I think we have a great athletic culture here at this school. We have a lot of successful sports programs, and most of my players, right, come from football. A lot come from football, a lot come from basketball, and basketball's had, some successful seasons, a very successful season this year. And I think that, success breeds success. And I think, even though it's a different sport, I mean, you learn how to compete. And I think that spills over, into the other sports, and then, filters into the spring season with baseball.
Coach, we all know it's easy to have a successful season, maybe a successful couple seasons. Hard to build a successful program. As we said at the top, you're one of the most successful programs over the last decade in the whole entire area. What kind of things go into continuing success and being able to bring up kids the next year and fill in spots and fill in shoes and keep having successful teams year after year?
I've been fortunate enough to have some great players that have come up through. That obviously helps. And I've got a great group of assistants. They do a great job. They relate very well to the kids. And they're focused on developmental aspects. You mentioned, how to maintain, each season, as we're obviously looking forward to this season, you're obviously looking down the road. You're looking 1-2 years out and saying, okay, well, right, this group of kids are leaving, and we're losing players at, these 4 positions, let's say. Like, who do we see right now filling those positions? And, what do we got to do with those players to get them ready to fill those shoes, once those players depart? Obviously you're never looking forward to losing players, but it's part of it. And then, we kind of create a plan, and then, kind of attack and get those kids ready for when they're needed.
There seems to be a mix of great upperclassmen and upcoming underclassmen for you this year. Who are going to be some of your key players, and what positions are they going to be in?
We have a big senior group, 9 seniors, to which, they'll contribute varying roles. Excited to have, our returning guys back. Excited to have Gavin Nagy back, Andrew Bryan back, Dylan Smesko back, some key seniors there, Jake Shoemate back. I look at the junior group. I got a very strong group of juniors. Brendan Klosowski, Julian Tranovich, and Lincoln Cleveley. Very excited. In addition to that senior group, Sean Updegraff, who, we scrimmaged last night. He threw last night. I thought he did a terrific job for us on the mound. So, really looking for him to contribute there as well. And, you mentioned some underclassmen. Gavin Hiscox has looked really good so far for us. I know he had a pretty good basketball season, and he's a good athlete. And then Nico Papuga is a freshman who caught for us last night a little bit, and did an admirable job back there behind the plate.
With so much leadership and experience, talk about how it's like as a coach to have so many different leaders on the team and be able to draw from different players, different things that you need, and being able to say, hey, if I need an emotional leader, I can go here. If I need a lead by example leader, I can go here. If I need a guy that can just do whatever I need him to do on the field, I can go here. What's that like as a coach?
It's ideal, I guess, because, look, everyone leads differently, right? I mean, some lead by example, some are more vocal. You need, I think, the player, and we have that. You need the player that's going to get the team vocally, right? That can pull the team in. It kind of lessens. I don't want to say lessens the burden on the coaches, but you get to the point where, when you hear it from the coach, you keep hearing it. Sometimes it just means more coming from another player. As coaches, we do what we can. But at some point, perhaps with a certain kid or a certain group, you can only do too much, and that's when you gotta lean on your seniors, right, or upperclassmen, right? I mean, you don't necessarily have to be a senior to lead. An upperclassman that can kind of take the reins of the team. You mentioned leading in different ways, work ethic, right? I mean, you got the kid who's not very vocal, doesn't really say much, but just comes to work every day, puts the time in, and it's noticeable, right? The underclassmen see that, the other upperclassmen even see that, and again, that serves, it's leadership by example.
I feel like a broken record saying that the NE8 is a competitive conference. But once again, in baseball, it's a competitive conference. Now, you guys have done some damage in that conference since its inception, but it looks like this year might be the first year you've really been able to kind of look at yourselves and look at everybody else and say, okay, we're the underdogs this year. Everybody's talking about Poland baseball right now. Does it feel different going into this year being an underdog than the expectation by everybody else that you're going to win the league outright?
Little different. It's definitely, I think, the most competitive it's been. I mean, you have, Poland's very good, very talented group. Hubbard, I mean, they got some arms back. They were extremely talented last year. So, those two come to mind. I mean, Girard has shown improvement. I mean, they got us once last year. So I look at it as a little differently. Anyone can get beat on any given night. It's the nature of the game. We've had this conversation before, especially with the tournament. They play series. In the college tournament, they play at least an elimination, a loser's bracket type situation, right? And they play series in the MLB for a reason. One bad bounce here or there, one break is oftentimes the difference between a win and a loss, especially when you pit two really good teams against each other. We're looking forward to the challenge this year. I mean, you talk about teams. I mean, Lakeview a couple of years ago had a great team, and they were very competitive last year. So, I think our conference is one of the more competitive conferences in the area.
Coach, when you talk about venturing outside the NE8 and getting yourselves ready for the tournament that you're talking about, I know South Range never shies away from competition. Who are some teams that pop up outside of the conference that you're really excited to challenge yourselves against?
Well, we open with Fitch, a big school, and we open with them on the 28th. Marlington is a good school. We will play the defending state champion West Branch. We scrimmaged them actually last night. We'll play them again during the regular season. So those are some difficult contests to start the season. Cardinal Mooney, Ursuline High School. I mean, our out of conference schedule it's not easy, but I mean, at the same time, I mean, we want to challenge ourselves. And in my opinion, that's the only way you get better throughout the season.
This year, Myrtle Beach is a little bit late. It's over the 20th of April-ish. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you see that as a blessing or a curse? Because, I mean, that kind of, to me, limits the amount of rain dates that you guys can have later on in the season. But it also gives you an opportunity that's guaranteed baseball later if it's raining up here.
It's not ideal. I guess the ocean will be warmer. I mean, that's one positive. But I mean, it's ideally, look, if in an ideal world, the first week of the season, we'd go down.
Yeah.
Spring break would fall that very first week, but you look outside right now. I mean, we may hit the cold, ugly weather at that time. I mean, you just never know. I want to say last year we were fortunate in terms of great weather down there. And I know it was ugly, back up here. And that's, you feel like somehow, some way you're getting a little bit ahead, of some other teams, perhaps when you go early, because sometimes you come back from spring break and you've got 7 games under your belt, and because you played a couple here before you left, and there's other teams you're playing that are at, game 4. So, it makes you feel like, wow, a trip was worth it. Not to say there's many aspects of the trip that make it a worthwhile trip. The camaraderie, the bonding that goes on, of course, and you're playing some good baseball down there, and the ocean, right?
The food, right?
The food.
The food. Yes, Rios.
Oh, Rios.
Coach, when we were talking about this very trip with Jeff DeRose, who's going down there with you guys on the softball side, he talked about how it's going to be more of a tournament prep than maybe a benchmarking for the team like it is when it's early in the season. From your perspective, what's it going to be like to have it late in the season, come back and have a couple of weeks before that tournament draw? So it's going to be more of a tournament prep for you. What are you looking forward to about that aspect of it?
Well, if you look at our schedule, our schedule is really backloaded right now, just because I want to say week 2, it's either 2 or 3 is our bye. It's our bye in league, and we have a couple games that week, but it's, when you're on bye week in your league, because we have an odd number of teams, it's hard to schedule just on certain days because other schools have league dates, right? And they have maybe a mandatory league makeup date that they have to keep available. So with that said, I want to say we go to Myrtle. We're looking to play 5 games at both levels down there. And then we come back, and I want to say the following week we're 5 and then 5, so I think maybe 15 games in 3 weeks, something of that sort. And it's in that sense, it is kind of a ramp up into the tournament. You've had a large window of practice, right? You've had a large window of practice, time indoors, time outside on the field. And, as late as it is in the season, you have certain things probably established heading to Myrtle Beach, whereas in years past, it's week 2 and you're still trying to figure out, okay, we've got these 3 players that we're looking at to fill maybe these 2 spots, and we're trying to see who best fits. We're probably a little bit more established at this time. So I would agree with Coach DeRose that it is more of a tournament prep. The nice thing for us going late, I guess, on the baseball side is our pitchers are in better shape. They're better conditioned at this point. They've been able to build up stamina in the bullpen. So you're not asking a kid to potentially do too much in regards to their there's an announcement going on. I apologize.
No, that's tough, right? We were just talking about a producer being in your ear.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah. So
is that Steve?
That's Steve. Yeah,
Had a baby, Steve Rowan. Way to interrupt YSN Live. We appreciate you, buddy.
So just getting back is real quick, I guess, to wrap up. The arms are in shape. So when you're trying to play, you can't just throw every day like you can in softball. So you're trying to get 5 games in. You have the pitching to do so.
My last question. A lot of people know you from your varsity, like this job, right? Not necessarily even your day job as a teacher. They know you from being varsity baseball coach, but I know there's a little bit of youth basketball coach in you. For you, what's the difference in coaching varsity baseball versus youth basketball?
I mean, it was like a blessing in some, because I had to step outside my comfort zone a little bit. I played basketball in junior high, and I mean, that just wasn't my sport. So really did nothing with the sport other than be a Tar Heel fan, specifically when it comes to college hoops. And, you watch the NCAA tournament and whatnot, and you follow it. But then, you work with kids that are younger than what you're used to. I mean, I work with obviously high school kids in the classroom and high school kids on the athletic field. So you're working now with some younger players, and it's interesting. It's kind of a stress relief to some extent, I guess, because it's a little different, and it's, little kids, and there's maybe, there's just not the expectation in terms of what you get at the high school level, pressure wise. But although, you get it, I actually got teed up. So I've never been restricted to the bench in a baseball game. I say that, but I got Chet Cooper at the scrimmage tonight, I think. So who knows?
Might as well not even go.
I like Chetty. But I got teed up at a 6.
What did you do?
I just the other coach who I love, Coach Naples, was of course chirping a little bit. And, he said, "Hey, one more word." And of course, there was still something I had to say. And all I said was he was wrapped all over his arm, and then he hit me with a tee. So I had to turn to Coach Naples. And I'm like, I'm sorry, because now we're both seated on the bench. Nobody could stand the rest of the game. So
you needed to throw the chair just to
just earn that.
Come on, man.
Funny, I want to say, here's what's crazy. You wonder like, who's listening, right? Because I want to say in my Twitter feed the next day, the chair game feed came up. The chair game popped up when Knight wung it across the court. I'm thinking,
there's only one. There is only one Jim Hanek. Well, Coach, please don't get tossed out of tonight's scrimmage. We would appreciate it naturally. Give our blessings and our gratefulness to Dr. Cooper tonight. That might get you a little bit of a leeway for whatever you got to say. But we certainly appreciate not just you coming on today, but you've always been there for us. We can't thank you enough since day one. We're always going to be behind you, and certainly we wish you the best this season, man. Anything that we can do to help, we're there for you.
All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
You got it. Take care. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Hanek. There he goes. Man, teed up, man. Unbelievable. Things I didn't know. I didn't know about that. Now I wish I would have had more questions about being teed up. But I mean, here's the difference, and there are a shortage of coaches at every single sport, every single level, and you've got guys like Jim Hanek that are saying, "Okay, I'm in. I'll put my hand in the pile." Doesn't have the experience necessarily that he would want to have, but you heard it's a stress relief for him. There's a lot of pressure at the varsity level now.
Yeah, and being a teacher, I'm sure in a high school is not always a sunshine and roses kind of job. There's probably a lot of days where you're like, I just want to throttle this kid a little bit, so I got to go and you have a stress reliever a little bit. Hey, I was in his class. I know the stuff he has to deal with. My class probably did not give him a lot of good days either. I have. You
trying to say that Coach Hanek would throttle you?
I have nightmares about trying to grasp genetics in biology 101 with Coach Hanek. Still, it's traumatic. Not a fun class. He was a great teacher, but his class was not good.
The class that you were in.
I was in. I meant my class in general, like my 2000. You were
ill-behaved.
Ill-behaved. We were a little ill-behaved class. We were kind of rowdy. I don't know. I should ask him on a graded scale.
Anthony Hartwig, the Hellraiser? Hellraiser in you?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, Ann.
I
see you. I see you. Were you the class clown?
No, I was just the guy that always wanted to talk to his friends more than listen to the teacher.
Oh, jeez.
I didn't get good grades in high school. I was not a good student. I had like a 2.5 at the end of high school.
See, the trick is
I didn't turn into a good student until college.
Same here. But the trick is you go to a really good college, right? So my first college, out of high school, I graduated. I went to Ohio Northern. People thought I was a genius. They were like, oh my gosh, like there's pharmacists graduating from Ohio Northern. Yeah, I'm going for broadcasting. It doesn't matter. You just say you're going to Ohio Northern and they're like, then you go to Westminster. They're like, might as well be Harvard. And by golly, I graduate with, president's list. Mm-hmm. It was incredible because I'm doing what I love to do. And luckily for me, did I ever tell you the story quickly before we get Rob Johnson on here? The story about I pushed all my tough classes to my senior year.
Oh man.
One of them was some science class, but there was a Russian professor who loved hockey. At the time, the Penguins were on their way up, right? They were on, so we made a gentleman's agreement because I already had a job. I was just needed the class to graduate. I'm not advocating for this. Westminster's better than this, but I'm a great salesman. We made a gentleman's agreement that I would pass the class if I came in once a week and we talked hockey. And by golly, I brushed up on hockey like I should have probably been doing in science. And great grade. I was proud of myself. Best science grade I've ever received in my life.
Wow.
That's how you do it. It's political science, though. I was a menace.
Man, I wish I heard that story before I was in Mr. Hanek's class. You could have gotten a good grade talking about Tar Heel baseball, Tar Heel
Listen,
basketball.
Jim Hannick will he's a hammer, absolute hammer in the classroom. I would guess.
I remember he was kind of a laid back teacher. If I mean, like, he would get on you, but he was just kind of the guy that would sit at his desk when we were doing work. And, I don't remember him yelling too much. He wasn't the yelling teacher, but he was definitely the guy that, like, when it was time for business, he was time for business. Yeah, now he's getting teed up.
Dude, he's changing right before our very eyes.
You
know who else is changing right before our very eyes? Little quick story. Rob Johnson he and I used to do this guy. We even talked about it yesterday. We used to do this, right? He was on a different wavelength than I was, right? We're at YSN. He was at a quasi competitor. And then one day we had a conversation as if Jesus Christ himself said, "Hey, I'm going to put these two in a penalty box together, we're going to have it out." And we had it out. And guess what? Now he's one of the greatest broadcasters on YSN, representing the Louisville Leopards and Spotlight Media. Ladies and gentlemen, the voice of the Louisville Leopards, Rob Johnson. Robbie!
What's happening, guys?
How are you? Where are you?
Just in one of the studios over here.
It looks like you're ready to teleport to a planet off of Star Trek, man. That's sweet.
Yeah, it looks like you have an aquarium in the background. You're about to be bull rushed by Jaws or something.
Darn right, guys.
Did you set all that stuff up yourself? That's awesome.
It's already been set up. We have some stuff going on today for the city of Louisville, and on top of the YSN sports family, I do a little bit of news and information for the city of Louisville. After we lost the Louisville Herald, they lost their way of communicating, so I kind of picked up that and threw it over my shoulder and said, "Let's go."
Rob, I have to admit, you've been one of the greatest additions. And I told you that yesterday. We're so happy to have you. You do such a good job. Louisville loves you. You bleed blue. There's no doubt about it. This run has to be it's a dream come true, right?
Oh, but no doubt about it. Next to probably the run that they made a couple of years ago, and then the 2007 state finals team for football. This is the cat's meow for Louisville. I still remember back at the field. It was at the Civic Center a few years ago, and the guys were playing, and the crowds that the Louisville community was drawing was just unbelievable. And that was really a good young team that obviously Ashton and Bo and BG and all those guys were freshmen on that team. You had Tyler Bolden, who was a solid player. But, Louisville, this is just – I expect a huge crowd at the Canton Fieldhouse coming Sunday. And there's no doubt in my mind that it'll be like it was in Massillon, where the crowd was 2/3 Louisville.
Rob, we talked on the show earlier this week. I don't know if you caught it, about the gap between games and how me and DJ don't feel like it needs to be this big of a gap between regional finals, state semi, and then you have to wait another 6 days before,
right,
5 days before you even play a state championship. What's your take on that? Do you think it's nice to have these kind of lulls before the big games, or do you think it could be expedited a little bit?
I'm kind of mixed on it. Obviously, you guys know as well as I do, spring sports, you've got, a good example is the baseball team's waiting on Tate Aljancic. So he's an outstanding pitcher, and you've got guys that play baseball, and there's quite a few baseball players on this team. You've got the opportunity a little bit more to prepare for your next opponent, which is an advantage for the basketball teams, so to speak. But I also know that there's that, let's ride the wave, man. Let's keep going, next up, and I know that it's a little bit different with the state experience, and I know 7 divisions has a lot to play into it, but you talk about the fact that these guys, they're ready to play today. You know what I mean? These guys are so dialed in. I know at least the Louisville kids right now are so dialed in that they would take it on today. But you also I think you're missing a little bit of that, play Thursday, Friday in the semis, and then play in the championship on Sunday, and let's rock and roll. And I do miss a little bit of that, having chased some of the other Stark County teams down to the state finals. It was just a whole atmosphere for the whole weekend.
Louisville earlier, Rob, this year took a trip out west. What kind of a once in a lifetime trip, and there was a lot of people wondering why. And now they sit here in this Final Four, and I think the question has been answered. Do you feel like that trip out west really helped this team battle both the physical and the mental demons that you can play against anybody?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and you got to really look at the whole picture, because that team went out there, I think every team in that tournament or that series out there was like all top 20 teams in the nation. And, Louisville went out there with the mindset, let's go win this thing. And then all of a sudden BG goes down and played one quarter out there. Well, they had to go out and find, another scorer, another guy that can play. And they found out they had more than just one guy. Tate Aljancic stepped up big. Avery Andrachik stepped up big. You've got guys on that roster from top to bottom that in a moment's notice, I mean, we found it out in the regional finals when Bo Siegfried got in foul trouble. Guess what? Next guy up, here comes Devin Bailey making big three-pointers in overtime and getting an and one in the regional finals. You know what I mean? It's just one guy after another, and you can't just focus on, obviously, everybody thinks about BG and Bo, but it's not. I mean, here, if it wasn't for Ashton's defense guarding sometimes their best player on the other team, this whole thing's a team effort. And they really had to find that out in California. I truly believe that as much as I don't ever want to see a guy get hurt or have to be out, I think it helped this team because they found out who they were.
And as we're talking about big moments in the season that propelled this team forward, in my humble opinion, you have the best call in the YSN season, bar none, in the buzzer beater, against the number one team in the state of Ohio. Take us behind the curtains a little bit and what it was like to go through that game as a broadcaster and what you saw from your lens and how magical that buzzer beater shot was.
Well, first and foremost, the arm hairs were standing on end, and you're trying to hold back and be call it both ways, you know what I'm saying? But you still have that Louisville Leopard pride, being a Leopard myself, and you see the play kind of happening and moving through, and then all of a sudden they actually fouled him on that play. BG got fouled. They were kind of as he came around the corner, he was wrapped up, and somehow he flipped the ball up and it went in, and just like all the emotions of that whole game and back and forth, and it was just like wow. And of course you heard the results on the air, and it was just incredible.
Rob, I got to ask you this because this popped in. Ryan says, if every community had a Rob Johnson, America would be a significantly better place. Go Leps. When you hear stuff like that, and that's not the first time that I've heard it, there is such a clamoring, a thirst for what you do in that community. Why is that, and how does it make you feel?
Well, I learned from a couple guys years ago, and it had really nothing to do with broadcasts. I had a football coach that I helped coach with years ago that was just a great man, in Ben Singer, and it was all about the kids. It was all about making sure that we made and did everything we could to make them not just good athletes, but good human beings, and doing everything we could do to help them succeed. And my ex-father-in-law, who I still talk to from time to time, Tom Futo, who was a coach at St. Thomas and a big coach, a couple state title wins over there at Hoban. And then on to college. But his whole goal in life was to, it wasn't about the accolades for him. He put like 30 some kids on scholarships for kicking and punting. And all he asked was for a signed picture from all the kids, and he has them all up in his basement. And it's so funny how those two guys, just the inspiration I had from those two guys to really try to help the kids and help the community and do the things that we can to make the community a better place and a positive place, just kind of rubbed off on me. And I love my community. I love Louisville. I love Stark County. I mean, you guys know that. And it's just one of those things that you just want to see it be a better place. You don't want all the negativity that's going on everywhere else. And that's why I do what I do.
I love watching the crowds at Louisville. You've talked about them a couple of times here in this interview already. Can you talk about what it's like to be in that gym, especially the hometown gym, and to just look around every now and then when you're broadcasting and see the kind of support this team gets from the community?
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, it is amazing. Well, it's almost expected now. And I'll tell you what, we've got a great team this year, but the team coming up behind it is pretty solid too. The cupboard's not bare. You've got a good group coming up. And Louisville, at this point, you expect a home packed house. And the energy you get in there, I truly believe, you have a packed house for freshmen and JV games. It's not just the varsity level that they're there to watch. They want to see, the kids at the freshman level, a Brandon Sanders and a Drake Wilson and some of these kids that are freshmen that have actually been starting to participate on the varsity level already. And you see these kids play freshmen, then you watch them play JV, and it's just unbelievable the support that Louisville loves these kids, and just the gym being packed when we play a St. Ignatius or Richmond Heights. I mean, we have to we put the YSN stream up in our cafeteria and have to broadcast it because it's standing room only, and people are down in the cafeteria watching us call the game from in the gym. It's nuts.
That's insane. That is unbelievable. I love that. Communities like Louisville, you can't just grow them, right? It's something that I hate to say it like this, but it's old world. It is the way things were when I was in high school, when they're before this thing was invented. That's where you showed up at. That's where you got your news from. That's where you got the scuttlebutt, and then you watched the heroes of your community come together and battle against the heroes of other communities. And that's why we started at YSN, because there's people that move away sometimes. Obviously the manufacturing has gone away from this area, and there's people all over the country, all over the world. They want to know what's going on with their community, and now they can do that with what we do. And we get so many people saying, thank you for broadcasting these Louisville games for us, because otherwise we wouldn't know what's going on other than, a write-up the day or the night after it happens. So, Rob, what you do is so important.
I appreciate it. And I got to tell you guys, it's so funny you say that, because so much of this here at Louisville, and I know with you guys over your way, it's generational too. You talk about, I talked about Wilson's, and Al, you got Al Janciks, and you got Bureks, and you got all these Siegfrieds, you got all these generational kids that their dads have been solid players. I know Tom went to Alliance, but his uncle Jason was a stud at Louisville. And you just get these guys that just generation. We actually have family members that will say, "Hey, we watched you on YSN. We were on our Caribbean cruise, and we were able to watch the Leopards, so they loved it." It's just great. We get them all.
I love it. Everything you've done has been incredible, and obviously there's, like I said before, there's a thirst for what we do, for what you do, for Louisville. And okay, so here's my last question, because I know this is a tough one. We've been on these rides before to state championships. Man, you hate to think about what happens if you lose. You always want to think about what that call is going to be like if you win. For you, do you already have that banked in the back of your mind? And then how much of a gut punch would this be for you if this ride ended up in not winning a state championship?
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen, number one. But
I don't want to be the pessimist, but
no,
I mean,
no, I get it. But I've always gone with the emotion. So a couple years ago, we had a really solid girls team. In fact, I thought they had a good chance to go to the promised land. And we lost. And actually, I was broadcasting the game on YSN. We did it was a buzzer beater, and it was a tap in off of a missed shot by Hudson. And I just remember just telling the ladies, hey, man, it's been an honor and a privilege to cover you. And, you got to go from the heart, because that's where it's at. You can't necessarily prepare for that moment, because there's too many times I've tried to write things down and it just doesn't fit the moment. You just got to roll with what's in your heart and what's in your head. Now, obviously, you got to be careful about what you say on the air, but I always try to keep it, straight from the heart.
Hey, if you drop an F-bomb when they win the championship, I don't think anybody's going to blame you, buddy.
No, I'm pretty sure that I might get away with that, especially after our call at the Richmond Heights game when they said he with Tate in the set.
And you got anything left?
No, I'm good, DJ.
Rob, I can't thank you enough, man. We are all rooting for you, and we are rooting, obviously, for Louisville this weekend and on forth into next week. Go blue, right? I mean, this has got to be an incredible journey.
I tell you what, I'm excited. I've talked to so many people about this team, and it is a total team. I mean, every turn you've had a different name, whether it's Devin Bailey with a big shot, or BG or Bo, or Avery Andrade coming off the bench for 24 points. I mean, it's been a different guy, and it's been an exciting ride. And I hope it's state title or bust. You know what I mean? But we're excited over here, and I'm sure you'll see a big Navy crowd over there at Louisville. Or at
Hopefully we can get a couple more of those big bangs from RJ.
Amen,
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for stopping by. Good luck this weekend. Let us know if you need anything, okay?
No problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
You got it, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Johnson. I love having Rob on the show because it's like he's in his comfort zone there. And then when the game turns on, he's just like one of those sirens that they had back in the day whenever there was bombings happening. Right. Not that you want that, but that's he gets cranked up. He is ready to go. And, he does. I mean, he's great at what he does. Certainly one of the best that we have. And if there was a love-o-meter for Louisville, my guy would be at the top of that. Like just straight out of, there's like the room, like where you're peeking, the red, green, yellow, red. He's like purple, like loves Louisville that much. And I can appreciate that about him because, we have those people that do that, that only want to broadcast for their community, which listen, if you're going to do that and you're going to give us A+ efforts, let's go. Because there's nobody better for that. But man, I didn't know how to frame that last question because man, it is a gut punch. Like it doesn't, if you're following a team and you just, because you don't know what to do. You don't know what to say. The players on the field obviously are heartbroken. The community's heartbroken, but our job is to be the voice of that community. And sometimes you just want to say, hey folks, this sucks. Like this is awful. But then there's those moments of just, you don't even know how to put words together that you're so excited because of what happened, because you never thought you'd be in that position. More than anything, I want Rob to have that moment for that community to as we say, hoist the colors for South Range. I want him to have that moment because he's already checked a couple things off his bucket list this year that I'm so proud of him for. I know he's proud of what he brings to the table each and every time that he takes the microphone. And Louisville deserves it, man. And I know that those other communities, it's not like those other communities don't, but like you just want it so bad. I want it so bad. Like I'm like ready for it for Louisville, like the champagne bottle that's ready to pop. I just want it so bad for Rob. I really do. He's a great guy.
Yeah, and those guys just have to take it one game at a time. You know, you got Sunday state semifinals, you get that one, then you can talk about the big dance, you know, winner go home championship kind of mentality. Get it done on Sunday. It's a tough Garfield Heights team that knocked out Hoban, of course. So got to get it done. Take care of business Sunday, and then we'll come back next week. We'll talk about a championship mindset.
And I think this actually helps them not being in Dayton. You know, and the more I got to think about it, you know, you talk about one game at a time. Obviously, this is in their backyard, number one. So that's huge. And you're expecting a huge crowd for Louisville, which should help. Garfield Heights is a team, though, man. They're a wagon. It'll be interesting to see. You know, they knocked off Hoban.
The top ranked team in the division. Now Louisville's already beaten the top ranked team in the entire state, regardless of divisions. So there's no one that Louisville is scared of. But just to quantify how good Garfield Heights is, they are the top ranked team in Division III.
Yeah, so this is not going to be just a pushover game, and not that Louisville ever signs up for those because they don't. They sign up for knockdown, drag out brawls in their games, but that's why they're so exciting. And I mean, to have it in Canton is, I think, a distinct advantage for Louisville. And as long as they use it as such, which means showing up, which Louisville never has a problem with showing up. Never. And I think that, you know, the one game at a time strategy you're talking about, okay, you win the semis, you go to the finals in Dayton, and you can turn that page because there's a lot of things that are unfamiliar. Right from that standpoint. So I don't think they'll have a problem with that. I'm so excited for this. I mean, I know it's Friday. It feels like the game's still so far away. Sunday at 6. And you can listen to it right here on YSN. Why do I say listen? Well, because our friends at the OHSAA dictate that we are no longer permitted to video anything. So you will hear Rob Johnson 6 o'clock on Sunday right here on your sports network. We're so excited for that. Go Leps. Hey, go Leps. Anthony's got the colors on. Go Leps.
Louisville fans, if you are heading down to Canton, I would urge you to go early because there are 3 state semifinals there. So it's going to be a really packed house. There's going to be a lot of congestion. If you don't want to walk a mile from the parking to get to the Canton Memorial Fieldhouse, which you could if you get there late enough, I would suggest maybe getting there early, a little bit, maybe before the game, before Louisville ends. That way you're not dealing with the congestion of trying to get in while other people are getting out. It's going to be a busy day in Canton. So just if you're heading down there, be aware of that.
Every day is a busy day in Canton.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they do. That's why they're Canton. We had a message from Josh Scott. Said ask him about Bluey that I was cracking up at halfway through the interview. I'm not sure Rob Johnson is necessarily a Bluey guy. I could be wrong. He might not even know who the hell Bluey is, but we're okay with that. He likes the color. And like I almost clicked it and I was like, oh, wait a minute. Josh Scott's trying to pull one over on me. Yeah. And that is a Josh Scott question, not a Rob Johnson question, Josh Scott. So just so you know, he almost got me. You got me laughing. If you roll back the tape a little bit, you can see me cracking up the second he put that in the chat. But certainly, no, there's only one Bluey guy in here, and that is Josh Scott. See, I knew it. We love you too, buddy. Appreciate you. Ryan with another comment here says, the game before features a local team, Maslin Perry. So it's going to be They beat Warren Harding on a buzzer beater to get there. So Maslin Perry's excited to be there too. We would like to say good luck to Maslin Perry on the context that we hope to get you on YSN in the very near future. Good people down there at Maslin Perry. We've done plenty of broadcasts there for tournament time. They host a lot of districts and regionals. And never had a bad experience in Perry with their AD, with their media contact, with the people that work the games. Always great time down there in Panther Country. And a great gym if you've never been there. It's an awesome facility. Anthony, that is what I like to call overkill. I was trying to get them, and
We're
you
trying.
just
It's a hard
absolutely
set, you
like
know?
we ran it over, and then you backed up, hit it, and then like went forward again and just ran that right over. Like,
Yep. That's what I'm here for.
relax.
That's what I'm here for.
Relax. You're not here for that. You're here for like 800 other things, not that. I'm the funny guy. Stick to your shtick. No, thank you for that, because I had no idea about any of that. We just know that Stark County is going to be very interesting this summer. Let's put it that way. Very interesting news coming out of Stark County this summer. I can see him in the back. He's sitting there smiling. I love it. I'm cracking up at it.
Just gave a thumbs up.
He just, he knows. He knows. He stopped by yesterday. He knows. You read between the lines, folks, if you don't know. And it is time for the Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark, presented by Joe Dickey Electric. They are everything electrical, and you can visit them on the web 24/7 and yes, 365 at DickeyElectric.com. What's your spark?
Is it too simple to say the spark is that it's Friday, and I'm happy it's Friday. It's a weekend, and we're 1 week away from the All-Star game. We just had about 4 or 5 confirmations come in today. One last reminder that today is that last day for that first wave of RSVPs. After tonight, we will be reaching out to some supplementary players to try to fill a couple of spots. So if you're out there and you think that you're an All-Star, and you maybe didn't get an invitation or you didn't get one in the email or in the social media, definitely reach out to us. We want to take care of you. We'll tell you if you're on the roster.
Definitely make that awkward conversation with your athletic director, saying, "Hey, I think I'm an all-star. Did I get any mail?
Where's my mail?"
Can you imagine that conversation with the athletic director? Hey, YSN said if I think I'm an all-star, I should be coming to you. Like, athletic director, we're going to be getting nasty emails.
We should also counter, like, if you haven't seen your school be put up on a graphic yet as well, would be a good indicator.
There's the follow-up. There's poor athletic directors. Oh, man. We're going to get so much hate. That's okay. We love you. We know you got the toughest job. We're just trying to make it tougher for you before spring. You got nothing better to do, right? No, I'm with you on the Friday thing. It's been a long week. Anthony, it's been a great week. I mean, you look at all the interviews that we've done this week.
Yep.
Then you add in what Ty's done.
Content is a booming.
King.
Head over to ysnlive.com. Check it out.
King. Content king. And not just me. I'll put it over. There you go. I passed you the... Good. There's a crown. There it is. Okay, there it is. Thanks. I need that back at the end of the show, though. Right. Oh, dang it.
Oh, you went the wrong way.
There it is. There it is. It's back on top. Mine is, yes, it's the weekend to be able to watch my kid play basketball here at Athletics tomorrow. I'm so excited. One of my favorite things to do. And then, I selfishly, I can't wait to listen to Louisville. I cannot wait. This is one of the most anticipated games that I think I can remember that I haven't called. You know what I mean? Because I think it's different when you're calling the game because the preparation takes you right into it. I'm actually excited to just kind of be a fan. Just be a fan and root for a team that has really, really appreciated what we've done and we appreciate what they've done. So, hey, go Leps. Go Leps. That's what we say here at YSN. Go Leps. So congratulations to Louisville on making it this far. Hey, you didn't come this far to only get this far.
Right.
Let's go win the whole damn thing. All right. Let's get it done. I think that's our show. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Thank you to Brittany Bissell for stopping by today, as well as Jim Hannick and Rob Johnson for making this show one of the best. And hey, if you didn't like it,
you know what?
We'll try again on Monday.
We also should probably thank our sponsors a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Hey, go ahead.
Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. They go the extra mile for you. Make sure to head out to Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town if you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, or you need some care from their service department. They'll take care of you in any way they can. They go the extra mile for you. We try to do the same here on this show every single day.
And
our good friends over at Toyota Warren. I'll pop their logo up here so they get some love. Toyota Warren. If you are also in the need of a new used vehicle, head out to Toyota. Maybe you're a little bit more towards the Warren, Trumbull County area. Maybe you're just a fan of Toyotas.
maybe you're a fan of Toyota
Warren.
Tundras.
Maybe you're a fan of the Toyota Tundra, which you can see DJ driving in very responsibly in the YSN Toyota Tundra.
I'm never taking off 10 and 2.
10 and 2.
I'm always,
10 and 2.
eyes are always on the road. So
Yep.
if you're waving at me or with one finger or with 5, I'm always with 10 and 2 driving down the road. Never having my cell phone in my hand.
Nope.
That's for the Ohio State Patrol. Never. That is going to do it for our show. Thank you. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to you for allowing us to do this silly daydream that we've had for the last 8 years. Again, this is so cool to be able to talk to these people that we talk to every day and to do it for you. And we want to make it better and better every single day. So if you've got comments, good, bad, or indifferent, if you've got questions or you have, hey, heaven forbid you give us a little bit of props, right? Heaven forbid we get an attaboy sometimes. You can message us on any of our social channels, or you can email us at info@ysnlive.com. For Anthony Twiggy Hartwig, my name is DJ Yoakley. This has been YSN Live for Friday, Pi Day, 3/14/2025. We'll see you on Monday. Hi. YSN thanks you for watching this presentation of Your Sports Network. For stories, stats, and more, go to ysnlive.com.